Yo, what's going on, guys? Reversal here, and today I'll be doing an Unchained deck profile for the current format. This is a deck I've played a lot ever since it got the support back in Duelist Nexus, and it's definitely become one of my favorite decks to play. And even since the Sharvara limit, I still think the deck's really good, especially now since it recently got some indirect support with the Nightmare Throne package. I think that helps the deck in terms of adding more consistency, some more resilience, even though it's already good into hand traps. And it just gives you a higher ceiling with your combos since the Dark Beckoning package helps you spam out extra bodies without Fiend locking you, so you can go to Appaloosa more easily. So I definitely think that package helps a lot. I'll give you an alternative if you can't afford it when I get there, but I think it's probably the best way to play the deck right now. We've seen this version do well at like regionals and stuff like that, either topping or winning a few of them. So the deck can definitely still perform with a good pilot. It's a harder deck to play, but it's very rewarding and fun deck to play, so I definitely recommend giving it a try. And I think after a ban list, if they ever decide to hit Snake Eyes, this deck could definitely climb up the ladder even more, especially if they decide to put Sharvara back to 2 or 3, which it should have never went to 1 in the first place, but that's besides the point. Before I get into the profile, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, definitely do that now so you don't miss out on any future videos. I'll be doing other deck profiles for various decks and Dino stuff as well, which I know a lot of people are here for. But yeah, like, comment, all that good stuff. And also check out finalsaga.de. And if you decide to buy anything, use my code reversal10 for 10% off your order. They got a lot of cool stuff over there, like mats, sleeves, deck boxes, binders, etc. And they recently released this cool anime Orca set, which comes with these gold-plated god cards. There's deck boxes for the characters. They have Yugi, Kaiba, and Merrick. And then there's 3 different decks for each of them. They come with like some holos and non-holos. Here's just some of the cards that come in there. So these are really cool. If you're interested in the anime style stuff, definitely check that out. And like I said, if you decide to buy anything from them, use code reversal10 for 10% off your order. It helps me directly. So with that being said, get right into the deck profile. Start off, we have the Unchained monsters, which is going to be 3 Aruha, 1 Sharvara, 1 Shayama, 1 Rakea, 1 Sarama, 1 Abominable Unchained Soul, and 1 Solar Disaster. These are all pretty standard except for the Disaster. This isn't something that's always been played, but now it's kind of necessary to play with some of the new combos. And since Sharvara's at 1, this helps you get the extra 6 to make Caesar, so kind of have to play it even though it's awful to draw. But this card gives you some extra utility in the grind game. The link off effect can be nice for breaking boards as well, so the card is definitely good. It's just a really bad brick, unfortunately, but everything else about the card, if you don't draw it, is really nice to have in the deck. That's it for the Unchained monsters. Now we have the Dark Beckoning Beast package, which is 3 Beckoning Beast, 1 Squirmer, 1 Opening of the Spirit Gates, and 3 Nightmare Throne. So the Dark Beckoning Beast and this is like your normal summon package. This doesn't do anything on its own since this can't search itself, but the Dark Beckoning Beast adds this, and then this adds another copy, and then this gives you an additional normal, so it just gets you Yama, and then this has another effect where you can discard a card and summon back from the graveyard. So and then the Gruesome Grave Squirmer, if you have a Fiend, you could just special summon this for free. And then this also has a graveyard effect. You can banish it to summon one of these back. So this is just a lot of extra bodies with this package. And then the Nightmare Throne has the utility to search for the Beckoning Beast if you need a normal summon, or the Grave Squirmer if you need an extender. So I think this is kind of what like ties the whole package together. If you can't afford the Nightmare Thrones, I don't think the Dark Beckoning Beast package is very good, since it has the same issues as Torguide did before. And I think it's a worse normal summon as far as just like if you have Torguide versus Dark Beckoning Beast. I think Torguide is like the better 1-card combo, but I don't think the normal summons are resolving a lot, especially Torguide. That card almost like never resolved. But yeah, I think this package is good. If you can't afford the Nightmare Thrones, I would not play any of these cards. And I would just play 2 more Rikea, the contract package, and then just 2 more non-engine. Or like a Foolish and an extra non-engine. And like that's fine as well if you want to play the deck more on a budget. But I think this is probably the optimal way to play the deck with the Nightmare Thrones. I think this card just does a lot for the deck. So for some consistency spells and the Unchained traps, we have 3 Prosperity, card's broken, 3 Prisons, 3 Escape, and 2 Chamber. I like playing 5 traps. You could play 3 Chamber and 2 Escape, but I prefer the 3 Escape since it's a little better to draw. If you get like interrupted and like can't go further, sometimes this is just enough to kind of get you to like a couple disruptions. Like say you start off with like Rikea or something, you can use this to pop it and then just float into a bomb and get another pop. So it's like decent to have, but yeah, you can go either way. But I think 5 is a good number to have. You can even potentially play 4, but I think 5 is good. Then these are like just searches every Unchained card, and it has the same effect as the traps when they get popped. So for the non-engine, playing 2 Thrust. I would probably adjust the ratios a little bit and play a 3rd one of these potentially if I had one, but I only have 2, so I'm just playing 2. And playing 2 Talents as well. I like this card at 2 instead of 3, just so you don't clog on these cards. We got 3 Droplet and 1 Dark Ruler. I think these are both good. Just play the 1 Dark Ruler since it's good against a lot of decks right now, like Voiceless, Melodious. It's not like the worst against Snake Eyes, depending on what board they go for. But just a draw target pretty much. Playing 3 Imperms, just since this is like a board breaker kind of, while being a hand trap as well. Just wanted cards that didn't play in the Talents, and didn't want to play no hand traps since you kind of do need them in some matchups, so decided to just main the Imperms since they're just good on their own. Then the 1 Rivalry. This card's just broken, especially into Snake Eyes, going 1st or 2nd, so I think you just main it. You could side it if you want, but I think the card's just crazy in a lot of matchups. It's not good in a couple matchups like Tenpai, but I think for the most part, this card's just ridiculous right now. But yeah, you can definitely adjust some of this stuff, but I think this is like fine. You could also just play all hand traps if you want to go that route as well. But having cards that you can set definitely comes up after getting nibbed, because like you want to hold your Shyama Engrave as long as possible. So if they nib you before that, you just need something to pop. So sometimes you just like set one of your non-engine, pop it with Shyama, and then use Yama to kind of keep going from there. So that's 40 cards. If you want to, you can play Terraforming as well and just play 41. I'm not playing this at the moment since I don't think it's necessarily needed, but you definitely could if you want a little more consistency. I just found that with the Terraforming, I was drawing like too much of that package, which is like, it's not bad if you see like multiples of them. Like if you see Beckoning Beast plus a way to Squirmer, like it's good. So you could definitely play the Terraforming. I just wanted to keep it at 40, but there's definitely no issue with playing 41 and just throwing this in. So for the extra deck, there's a couple of utility cards that you could use in here. I'll show like what I think is mandatory first. 3 Yama. You definitely could get away with 2 of these if you don't have 3. It's really, 3rd one just comes up in grind games sometimes, but for the most part, you just end up banishing 1 off Prosperity. But it definitely comes up occasionally, but if you don't have 3, you could definitely get away with 2. 2 Solar Rage. I think you just have to play 2. The 1 Anguish and the 1 Abomination. These cards are nice for breaking boards. The Abyss Actor's Super Producer. So this card's needed for some of the Dark Beckoning Beast combos. This lets you just pop a face-up card, which is going to be the Gates usually. And then you can trigger your Yama since something was destroyed and keep going from there. So this card's needed. The SP, this card's broken to go into off of Rage. Appaloosa, like I said, with the Beckoning Beast combo, you get a lot more extra bodies without fiend locking yourself, so you can go into this card a lot easier. Then we got the one Typhon and the one Caesar. I think both of these are really good. You probably don't like have to play Typhon if you don't have it, but I think it's worth playing for sure. And then for like to round out the last three, you have the Gin Buster you could play. This card's nice to be able to go into with the Beckoning package sometimes if you have like a lot of extra engine. Muckracker, Dark, Phoenix, Unicorn. These are all like good in different ways. I think the Muckracker is nice to bring back some fiends, depending on like how your hand is. Sometimes it's good to discard a brick with this as well. The Phoenix is just good for back row removal. The Unicorn, sometimes you just want to spin stuff, and occasionally when you have Rage, you can find yourself fiend locked sometimes, but for the most part, that doesn't really come up, but that's when this would come up to go into off the Rage instead of the SP. And then Dark can just grab you other stuff from their grave, like their SP, stuff along those lines. So I think these are all, you can just pick a couple of these, and then I think they all like have their extra utility. If I had to pick three, it'd probably be like these three though. So for the side deck, as usual, I'm gonna show a little more than 15 cards just to give you some options. So playing a little more hand traps in the side deck. Play 3 Ash. I think Branded is the worst matchup for this deck since you're playing mostly board breakers, so definitely want something in the side for them. This card's good against them. It's good against like Labyrinth. It's good against Tenpai to hit the quick play and battle phase. I think this card just has a lot of good utility right now. I just wouldn't main it without playing like a bunch of fan traps. Then we got Nib. This is like one that I side and don't side sometimes. This is like, I like playing Ash, but this is the one that kind of is a little more iffy. I think there's some matchups where it's nice against. I think versus Snake Eyes, it can be very good. I think a lot of the new combos kind of don't respect this card as much. Especially if they see you're on board breakers, they might just disrespect this card completely. So it's definitely a card that could catch your opponent off guard, and in some matchups it's just really good. Then we got 2 Bestials. This is mostly just for Branded because you have to stop the puppet lock or you just lose. So it has some utility in other matchups as well, so you could definitely opt to play these if you want. I think Deity Crow is another option, but I think just wanted to play 2 of them. And the bodies can be nice as well. We got 1 Call By, mostly for going first, but you can use it going second against like Puppet Lock and stuff as well. Change of Heart, just as another thrust target. I think this card got worse along with the other steel cards since the Snake Eyes deck is doing like Hope Harbinger now. But it's still pretty good in general. Even against that deck, you'd still probably bring it in if you decide to side this at all. We got 3 Book of Eclipse. I like this card a lot. I think it has a lot of utility going first and second, depending on the matchup. But I was maining this in place of the Imperms before, but decided to put the Imperms in so I could kind of have a few more hand trap options. But I think Eclipse is kind of a slept-on card right now. I think it's really good against a lot of random decks, and it's not like that bad against Snake Eyes. We got the 1 Duster, it's another thrust target. 3 Cosmics, just so you can deal with Floodgates. And when you're facing like Branded, Cosmic goes well with like Droplet and the Eclipse. Otherwise, they don't really do anything, so you need to deal with the Branded loss, so the Cosmic's nice for that. Then some additional like kind of back row hate, but it's more like just everything is evenly. So you can play 1 as like a thrust target or play multiples. I feel like this card's really good in a lot of matchups. I think versus Snake Eyes, if they're doing like the setting up the full board with the Hope Harbinger, This kind of clears most of that, and then you just have to play main phase 2 and kind of just play through like the couple things they have and then set up enough to stop them. So I think it works out pretty well. I think this card's pretty good in a few matchups, so I think it's worth playing, even if it's just at like 1 as a thrust target. And then a couple more going first cards. We have an anti-spell and D-barrier. This is just to set off thrust if you're facing like Pearly or Tenpai or whatever. And you could just side it in against a lot of matchups like Branded as well. And then the anti-spell I think is like just a good one of for this deck, since a lot of the time you play through hand traps very well, but you could lose to like talents and stuff sometimes. So I think stopping cards like that is nice for the anti-spell. But yeah, this is more than 15, like I said. You could cut it down. But these are like the main things I consider siding in this deck. You could play more going first stuff potentially, but I don't think it's really necessary. But yeah, it's gonna be it for the